All right, here we go. Welcome to Coffee with Markus and Mark. Today is Monday, October 3rd, and as you can see, we're not in our usual studios. We're actually here with our mastermind members on Cayman Island for 1 week of trading. So, perfect. Good to have you here. We have a lot to talk about because we closed out September, and on Friday, the Dow closed below 29,000, and this was the first time since November 2020. The S&P was down 9.3% for September. I mean, the S&P and Nasdaq posted their first 3-quarter streak loss since the financial crisis. So a lot going on, and we'll show you how we trade our live accounts here. And because if you don't know us yet, I'm Markus Heitkoetter. This is my head coach, Markus. It's so unusual to sit next to you. Usually I'm pointing somehow, somewhere. Anyhow, so we're real traders who trade real live accounts, and this is why we want to show you of how we do it in these markets. So we have a lot of experience, and we'll tell you like it is. And with that said, let's get started, and let's see if I can magically switch us over here to the screen share and look at that monitor.
Yeah, let's have some fun. Nice to be with you in person.
All right.
Yeah.
It's always awesome. We do this several times a year.
Yeah.
It's always great. Last time we were in Germany, before that in Mexico, and now
can't complain. Well, you might be able to complain a little bit about the markets. They've had a pretty nasty dip here. We have the S&P 500 up. Daily chart, right, Markus?
Yeah, that's a daily chart.
Yeah. So we see last week we took out those June lows. Markus, you mentioned that it was 3 consecutive losing quarters, first time since 2009. The worst 3 quarters in a row going back 20 years. So it was a nasty little dip there. But today, popping.
Today, yeah. I mean, if you look at a 5-minute chart, it was super interesting because last night when we were here in the room setting up, we were looking at the futures market that opened already yesterday. And this is when we saw, oh my gosh, we just opened a little bit lower, then we were sliding. And while we were sliding, we just decided to go and grab some dinner.
Yeah, it was pretty fast too, because you see that open and it's okay, muted open, no big deal, it's Sunday. And then it started to go, and we're like, well, there might be some fireworks this morning. Let's go get a drink and dinner. And lo and behold, nice rally overnight going into the open, and it's continued since markets have opened.
Yeah, so if you ever would like to get the market, move the market higher, just
drinks on Sunday.
Drinks on Sunday. Okay, so let's go to a 5-minute chart of the S&P. So this is where we see this morning. I mean, we opened higher, and then at first it looked like, this is what we have been doing over the past few weeks, basically, where we open a little bit higher and then we just sell off. But right now, it seems that the markets are in an October mood, and October means usually a little bit better news.
Yes, September historically worst month of the year. October looking a little bit better, and so far off to a nice start here. I think that the big news though, Markus, Kim Kardashian has to pay $1.26 million to the SEC.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And with that said, let's go back to September or October performance. And I mean, this is a great, just a great show of how sometimes when it gets bad, sometimes when it gets nasty, and you think, where do we go from here? History has a tendency to show that there could be some optimism around the corner.
Yeah, so we see some really bad September performances in 1974, where the markets were down almost 12%. October, then 16% rally, 8% down here, 5% rally. The only exception to the rule here is 2008, where we had the global financial crisis, where we're down 9% in September, and then we kept moving lower, 17% in October.
That is interesting. And, you know, I did see a number from the American Association of Individual Investors. They have this bull-bear spread, and it's the 8th lowest reading last week in the last 35 years. There have been some low readings this year, but they're seeing readings at levels that were not seen since 1990 and 2009, which were actually bottoms in a bear market.
Yeah. And I mean, we see it here. So there's an analyst at Bank of America who said, okay, the S&P 500 is in its 20th bear market. And usually it takes 289 days And so history says that the bear market ends on October 19th.
There we go. Putting it on the calendar right now.
Let's do that. Which also is the 35th anniversary of the Black Monday. But that's when it's over.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Looking at what's happening this week. I mean, last week, super interesting because that's where we had the core PCE price index, and it didn't come in as the Fed expected. It was not lower. It came in slightly higher. So this week, the big one this week will be on Friday, the unemployment report, the jobs report.
Sure. You get a look on Wednesday, but Friday's the biggie with average hourly earnings, the unemployment change, unemployment rate, and non-farm employment change. So Friday, definitely the biggie. A few things during the week, but Friday's the one to really look out for.
Yeah, and if you look at this, I mean, nobody's really expecting the labor market to soften just yet. I mean, it seems that we're still having an unemployment rate of 3.7%. So if we come in lower, that could spark some more fireworks in the market, because that's where the Fed wants the labor market to soften here. And we also need to see that the average hourly earnings are not running away.
Yeah, an ideal scenario for the market would be average hourly earnings dropping, unemployment rate rising, and we'll just have to see.
Yeah. So, I mean, on this, today we had the ISM manufacturing PMI that came in a little bit worse than expected. And anything above 50 is expansion.
Yes.
Anything below 50 is contraction. And we just barely came in with expansion. But again, this is where bad news is good news.
And it's all about the Fed because of that, right? So sometimes you have economic data and information that's positive for the market. In this case, we want it to be negative. Go figure. That would mean that the Fed would be less likely to be aggressive with their rate hikes.
Right. And so this is where we have, again, a bunch of Fed members speaking this week. I mean, everybody has something to say, it seems. But,
yeah.
I mean, we already know. They said they're committed to combat inflation. And so let's take a look at this. Hasn't changed much since last week. These are the probabilities of the Fed raising interest rates by 0.75 of a point at their November meeting, November 2nd. So 57% versus 42% for a 0.5% hike. So still leaning towards the 75 basis points because that's what the Fed said. They're committed to this.
Exactly. And we mentioned it. There's a lot of data that's going to be released between now and the meeting on November 2nd. So this could be flip-flopping all over the place, but we have, 3 solid reports before.
Yeah. So again, going back to the markets, indices are up. This means that the VIX, the fear index, is down this morning. Interest rates also moving lower. I mean, after they hit higher than 4%, we see a sharp decline here right now, which definitely helps the stock market.
Absolutely.
All right, and then we have crude oil. I mean, crude oil news this morning, and crude oil jumping massively higher here.
Yeah, pulling back a little bit from where we were at the open, but OPEC, some news from OPEC, someone mentioned that they are considering cuts that actually would be the biggest cut since the pandemic. So that output cut is driving crude oil higher. And like you see right here, pulling back a little bit from where it was trading, but oil and gas stocks up nicely because of the news.
Yeah, and that's perfect. So let's switch over to Forex Optimizer because I have been trading Suncor, and I did get a sign. So let's hop over there and take a look at Suncor. Actually want to minimize this, go over to the watch list. So here we go. Suncor is super interesting. Mid-September, I sold the 29 put expiring 9/23 and got 62% annualized ROI. Then a few days later, I got assigned Suncor. So now I own 4,000 shares of Suncor. And this is where it's always great when we see a pop like this, because as soon as I own the shares, that's when we want to sell covered calls. And that's what I did this morning, and it worked out really, really well. If you look at the calculator here, bring it up. So Suncor selling the 29 call because that's the price where I got assigned, and I was able to get $1.20. So based on 4,000 shares, that's a good piece of money.
Yeah,
Chunk of money.
that worked great. I mean, it's nice when you get that pop over the weekend where you get a sign. So you're able to really take advantage of those calls.
Yeah. So that worked perfectly. But then also last week, because you weren't in Suncor, you traded PSX.
Yep.
So that also looks good because you sold some puts on PXX.
Yeah, I sold the 74 puts, and looking at the chart, that looks pretty nice down there and a ways away at this point. I haven't closed those at 90% yet. The bid was 10, the offer was 15. My 90% would be 6 cents. I put in an order for 5 cents, seeing if we get that today, but loving that trade.
Yeah. And then also a new trade, Marriott. So Marriott, I already traded it last week.
Yep.
I sold the 131 puts and right now moving nicely higher. But then this opportunity popped up again this morning. So there was an opportunity earlier this morning. Right now we only have the 135. So we weren't interested in this, but you were actually looking here at the 131.
Sure. So last week we were both looking at Marriott and UAL. You decided to trade Marriott at 131. I actually was in UAL from the previous week and decided to roll it. So my 32.50 puts for UAL expired worthless on Friday. So I had an open position, and Marriott and UAL were very correlated. So I didn't want to trade both of those. But since UAL opened up a position for me, I decided to take the Marriott trade at the 131 level. Today, it was 60 cents that I got. So still a good ROI based on the days to expiration. But new position for me, now we're twins.
Now we're twins again. Okay, good. Other than this, not a whole lot going on with the other positions. I mean, Google is up nicely today. So this is where I got assigned at 108. You got assigned at 103.50.
Yep.
So today, where are we? Nicely up 2.6%. You have been looking at selling calls earlier. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I probably need to see Google at 100 to be able to sell the 104 calls. So
right,
I'll keep an eye on it.
If you look at this and then just see, in order to sell the 104 calls, so right now you would get 10% annualized, and you're looking for at least 30, or we are looking for at least 30% annualized.
Yep.
So right now you could only sell the 102, definitely the 101, but we don't like to sell below our assigned price.
Exactly.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
Good. NVIDIA also a nice pop today, up more than 3%. And you are in AMD, I'm in NVIDIA. So plugging along nicely here, also up today. Where are we? Like 4%. So AMD catching up a little
shabby. Yeah, nice little rally there in the semiconductors.
Good. And then we also have TPR.
You have TPR.
I have TPR. Yeah. TPR. So also today up 3%. Got assigned at 37. So right now, not being able to sell calls, but good to see here a 3% pop. So, I mean, with the markets moving higher, all of our positions are moving in the right direction. And again, you were able to enter the Marriott trade. I was able to sell calls on SU. So it's all looking good. I need to finish up my bookkeeping today.
Yeah.
For the positions that expired on Friday. And then we can fill you in tomorrow of where we ended up September, in case you're interested. And if you are, click like if you're interested in this, then we can update you tomorrow. On this, I mean, today on the conservative scanner, since we are up in the markets, where are we right now? We are up almost 2% across the board, across the indices. So this is where today, if you're looking to sell puts, not a whole lot going on, which is good, right? I mean, don't force it on a Monday.
Exactly. And even on the scanner, I think eBay popped up, but I wasn't interested in eBay, just a handful. We know that typically it's best to sell puts on down days, sell calls on up days. So taking advantage of those Suncor calls and then selling puts on a down day last week, you had plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, the exception was kind of Marriott, because today Marriott at first, you see this was the opening higher, then pushed lower. And for a while, was trading lower than Friday's close.
Yep.
And this was the opportunity. So when it was pushing lower, it popped up on the scanner. You put in the order, and at the next push lower, that's when it got filled.
Exactly.
All right, so this is working out, moving in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So overall, good. Okay, so as you can see, we're having fun here in Cayman Island with our mastermind members, and this is why. Let's wrap it up here. So if you're interested in learning more on how we trade, take a look at these videos that we have here, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning again live together here in the same room.
Happy trading, everybody.